Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm from No Stranger, and we are going to tell some life stories to you this morning. So in the autobiographical sense, it makes more sense to start with our childhood. So that's what we're going to start things off with this morning. Now, we plumbed the depths of our childhoods for material for our presentation this morning, but we found there were some holes. So we turned to someone for help filling in those gaps who never run out of stories to tell, dads. So a couple of us volunteered ourselves and our fathers to be interviewed in separate rooms about the same event. And what we found when we played the audio back surprised us. It made us see those events differently, and it made us see our fathers differently. So we're excited to share that with you this morning.
So when you're 10 and there's no internet really, finding rare Star Wars toys is not something you can do without an adult. To drive you places, to call places, to buy the things, really, frankly. So
we spent a lot of hours and times doing it.
I remember looking in the phone book for collectible vendors and calling them and asking them if they had Dengar or Moma Nadon or Pondo Baba figures or something.
I mean, there's a lot of different characters in Star Wars, and Han Solo, and he's got a lightsaber, or Yoda, one of those little bear-like guys, whatever they called those guys.
Our holy grail, our Moby Dick, was an action figure of a character named A Man.
A Man.
He's like this weird, lizard slug thing that holds a staff with a skull on it. But then it became my dad's mission to find an A Man with me and still in the box, but get a really good deal on it.
And then one time we went up to Charles Ritz, and we were up there, and I looked over there, and there was an A Man there. So there's a little guy by the name of Rick Smits. If you remember him or not, he used to play for the Indiana Pacers. He's 7'4" or whatever. But anyway, he had it in his hand, and this vendor was there, and he was looking at some Army dolls, and he laid it down. And when he laid it down and was over looking at these, he went down 2 or 3 little stations down. And when he did, I just walked over and picked it up and walked around to the other side and paid for it. So Ryan got a Man. And we looked over and looked back, and Rick Smith was there looking up and down around trying to see where that thing was that he'd put down there.
I remember taking it home and just feeling like it was this really precious, special thing, and staring at it. I eventually did start to feel like I was too cool for Star Wars, or that it was nerdy, and I didn't want to be that kid who liked Star Wars. When it dawned on me that I wasn't excited about it anymore, my heart sank into my stomach, because I just thought how do I tell my dad I don't like Star Wars anymore? I felt like announcing that I didn't like Star Wars anymore was tantamount to announcing that I didn't like my dad anymore. And I really didn't want to tell him. So I finally, I remember sitting down, me, mom, and dad, and having what felt like a really serious talk to say no more Star Wars collecting. There was this somber feeling in the room.
No. Not at all. Kids change. Everything changes. I enjoyed it because it was something to do with him. Gave him something to look forward to, and he was looking forward, and I wanted him to try to learn that, if there's something that he wanted, he could hunt for it, look for it, spend the time, the effort, And those who's got patience and stuff and wait and work for it, good things come to them.
Now that all those toys have been gone for 12 years,
The Star Wars toys, probably, yeah.
I really wish I had them.
I probably wish we hadn't have sold them.
I really wish I had them. Yeah.
Story time. Setting was Peru, Indiana. I was in 5th grade.
We lived back a really long lane.
During the wintertime, my parents didn't want us waiting for the bus outside in the cold, so my dad had to drive us in his truck all the way to the end of the driveway and just kind of wait for the bus.
And honestly, those were some of my best memories of the kids. You know, we were cutting up and just, you know, there was some farting going on, and it was just a blast. I remember one morning.
You know how radio commercials repeat themselves just like constantly, and there was this one commercial that repeated every time we were waiting for the bus, and it got to the point where it became silly for us to hear it because it was just like this tiny little girl's voice saying, "Here we grow again." And my dad, as soon as she would say it, my dad would say it along with her with a high-pitched voice.
Here we grow again.
And it would just crack me and my brother up so much. Actually, there was one morning where it was Rod Stewart came on the radio. My dad all of a sudden sings along with Rod Stewart. You're in my heart, you're in my soul.
Well, I threw out the line, your breath smells like a dog.
This is not family friendly.
And they just cracked up. I mean, and as soon as that was said, boom, the bus drives up. So they get out of the truck and they're just falling all over themselves thinking how funny that is.
Every time I hear that song, I think of my dad in that truck singing that to us, being a 5th grader, and just having that blow my mind because it was the funniest thing I've ever heard. So
that's our little joke, our little song, and they still laugh about that. And I think about that a lot, and it's it's a good memory. Good memory. You know, we can make each other laugh, and it's always a lot of fun when we're together.
I think my dad's hilarious. Yeah.
And I always felt like I had a real advantage in having the twins. You know, when I talked to my mom and dad, they had no clue as to my friends or what we were talking about because it was just me, and I could clam up and they didn't know anything. But with Adam and Emily, they kind of shared some of the same friends, and I could hear some of their stories, and they would talk to one another. We would also talk serious and, you know, if anything's going on, but it was mostly it was a fun time. It was one of my most fond memories of the kids growing up and that time we got to spend together.